Students, I am Dr. Jamal Abidi, ex-University Librarian of Jamia Millia Islamia. I am going to discuss with you about the definitions, instructions and notes given in the DDC, Dewey Decimal Scheme of Classification. Different types of notes and instructions have been given all over the schedules as well as in the tables of DDC. The classifier should be able to understand these notes and instructions as very well before he starts the work of classification. Today we are going to learn about these notes and instructions given in the schedules and the tables of DDC. These notes and instructions have been explained with the help of few examples taken from the DDC. The classifier should be able to understand about these notes and instructions well before he starts doing the work of classification, because he cannot understand the exact work of classification if he does not know the meaning and definition of the headings and the notes given in the schedule. Today we are going to learn about these notes and instructions of DDC, and these notes and instructions have been explained with the help of few examples which have been taken from the DDC. So, the notes and instructions of different types of the definition of scope of a heading. For example, first of all we will discuss about this note. In case of a number of headings in the schedules of DDC, definitions of the headings have been given below them. Definitions of explain to the classifier and make it clear the meaning of heading. Definitions of the heading, for example, we take 3301 heading is economics. For example, economics subject 33 is covered under 330 in DDC. This heading 330 economics is followed by its definition, means what is economics. The definition of economics has been given by DDC as follows: the science of human behavior as it relates to utilization of scarce means of satisfaction of needs and desires through the production, distribution and consumption. This definition has been given for this heading. So, it clarifies about the subject, and definition of, in some cases, definition instead of definition some scope of the heading has been given. We call it scope note. In case, for example, a subject is what aspect of the subject has been covered, the scope note makes it clear. It explains about the scope of the subject, explains specific qualifications applicable to a particular subject and its subdivisions. For example, we have a heading 631.2 which is for agricultural structures. So, this heading is followed by a scope note which clarifies what is covered under this, in what aspect this agricultural structures have been given in 631.2. The note says description, use, place in agriculture. Description, use, place in agriculture of various types, for example, farmhouses. We have taken one structure. This is in description of farmhouses in agriculture. This has been given a heading 631.21. These aspects of agricultural structures have been differentiated from the architectural aspect of the agricultural structures, which have been classified in with the 728.67. So, farmhouses, if they have been dealt in architectural point of view, then 728.67 is the class number which has been assigned to farmhouses. In case of some headings, the scope of the subject has been explained by giving an example. For example, this heading we take 025.315, which is for structure of catalog. This heading is followed by a note. By examples have been given: divided, unified, classified. So, this it means three types of catalogs: divided, unified and classified. So, this example clarifies the scope of catalogs, types of catalogs. So, after this we come to another type of note which has been given by DDC, and we call it inclusion note. Inclusion notes are those which begin with the word including. Such notes, means including notes, describe the subordinate topics of the heading which are not actually the part of the heading, but these topics have been included under this heading for the time being on ad hoc basis. Separate headings will be provided for these topics as and when sufficient literature is available to justify a separate heading for these topics. For example, we have a heading 025.233, library relations with the vendors. This heading is followed by a note including vendor selection, approval plans. It means that the topics vendor selection and the approval plans have been included under this heading library relations with the vendors for the time being, though they are not exactly the part of this heading. Separate headings will be provided for these topics later on as and when sufficient literature is available on them, then they will get a separate heading, but presently they have been given here. So, after this we come to another type of note which appears at places in DDC, and that is called class here note. Class here. It is quite similar to the earlier one, including note. The class here notes are not obviously part of a heading, but sometimes these topics are attached by a note with some heading class here. So, class here, these are class here notes we find. These some topics may either be broader or may be narrower than the heading, but they have been included with this heading by giving a note, this class here. So, we take an example again, this heading 576 microbes. It has a note below it, which is class here microbiology. Means the classifier has been structured to class microbiology under microbes, though it is not obviously part of microbes, but it has been placed with 5766 microbes. So, we take another example of this type, where the heading 725-728 is architecture of specific type of structures. It is followed by a note, class here is specific structures, which means we should class architecture of specific type of buildings in an appropriate class number between 725-728. Thus, architecture of code buildings is 725.15, while the architecture of temple will be covered in 726.1. So, these two are quite similar type of notes. Then we take another type of note, which is class elsewhere note, which is just opposite of including and class here notes. Sometimes a subject which seems to be a part of a heading has been assigned a separate class number with a note which refers to a more appropriate class number for it. Now, we take another example of a heading 341.75 International Economic Law, which is followed by a note, class fisheries in 341.7622, labor in 341.763, which means that international economic law on fisheries should be classed in 341.7622, and international economic law on labor should be classed in 341.763. So, the similar topics have been placed into in different class numbers. Then we take example of another heading 303.62 Civil Disorder and Revolution. It is followed by a note for civil war and revolution, which is a similar type of topic. See 303.64. Here we notice that though civil war and revolution seems to be a part of civil disorder and revolution, but it has been assigned a separate class number. So, this is an example of class elsewhere note. So, similar type of topics have been given separate numbers, different numbers. Then we come to another type of note, which is comprehensive works on concepts in centered entries note. Comprehensive works on concepts in centered entries note. First of all, we learned about centered entries. In the schedules of DDC, we come across some headings which are denoted by continuous span of class numbers. They are called centered headings or centered entries, because these entries are always printed in the center of the page in the schedules. For example, 251-254 local church. This is a centered entry or centered heading. Every centered entry is followed by a note stating what single number the classifier should assign for comprehensive works on that topic. For example, uh, a centered entry just we discussed is 251, 254 local church. So, if this topic has been dealt with in general, so it is followed by note class comprehensive works in 250. It means that comprehensive works on the concept local church expressed in the centered entry by 251-254, this span of class numbers. So, a general work on local church should be classed in 250. 250 will be assigned to any work which deals with these local churches in general. So, this is one type of note. Now we come to bracketed class numbers. These discontinued numbers are kept in brackets in DDC schedules. We find a few numbers which are given in brackets. They are not to be used now. These class numbers for some subjects which are given in brackets, they are no more in use. These numbers are either unassigned, means they have been left blank for future use, or these were being used earlier editions of DDC, but they have now been discontinued. Such headings are followed by a note indicating the new class number, means in which number these headings have been placed now. For example, take a heading 112, it is in square brackets, 112 classification of knowledge. This heading is followed by a note class in 001.012, means the earlier class number for this subject classification of knowledge was 112, but its new number is 001.012. Then we take another example. For example, heading 020.601 International Library Organizations. It is followed by a note, do not use class in 020.621. It explains that clearly that the new number is this 020.621 for the subject heading. Now we come to another note, notes for optional provisions. For certain subjects in DDC, option has been given to the classifier for to provide an alternate number, class number. So, these are other than the one provided in the schedules. There are some logical reason to place the subject in the number also. But in some cases, in such cases, the editor has given his preference, which number that editors prefer to be used, these optional numbers. We take an example of optional number. This heading 936.2 for history of Southern Britain to the year 410. It is followed by a note if preferred, that is if the classifier prefers class in 942.012. So, the 941.012 at this is an optional number. At 942.012, a heading is Ancient History of Southern Britain 2410. There we find a note. Use of this number is optional. The editors prefer 936.2, means we should give preference to the number 936.2 for this heading. We come to another instruction. There are some instructions which are very important, and one is we have to add from tables instruction. The 7 tables of DDC have been provided. Different concepts of general nature which the classifier may add. These commonly used concepts have been given in the tables. So, these numbers of the tables, 7 tables, may be added with the basic subject numbers of the schedules as per the requirement to make them more specific. These instructions have been provided at different places in the schedules, indicating which digit is to be added from which table to the base number from the schedules. So, for example, in heading 338.889, foreign owned enterprises by owner. This heading is followed by an instruction, add area notation from table 2 to the base number 338.889. So, we can add any area number after 338.889 because the instruction has been given to add area number from table 2 to this number. Thus, for a subject on foreign enterprises owned by the US nationals, we will add the number of US to the basic subject number, that is 338.889. The full class number of this subject will be 338.88973, where 73 is the area number of USA, which has been taken from table 2. We can add any number from table 2 or for that matter from any table on instructions to make the subject more specific. Then we take another example of adding a table number to the heading, to the basic subject number 154.84. 155. We can add table numbers on instructions. We take another example. One heading is 155.84, psychology of specific racial and ethnic groups. It is followed by an instruction to add racial. This instruction says add racial, ethnic, national groups notation 01 to 99 from table 5, means any notation from table 5 can be added to the base number 155.84. Thus, the class number of a document dealing with ethnopsychology of Germans will be 155.8431, where the basic subject number is 155.84 and 31 is the notation for German pupil as given in the table 5. So, this number we have added table 5 on instruction. Another example, we have the heading 390.4 for customs of the people of various specific occupations. It is also followed by an instruction add persons notation 09-99 from table 7. So, any number from table 7 can be added which is for different groups of persons to the base number 390.4. Thus, the class number of a document on customs of librarians will be 390.4092. So, to the base number 390.4, 092 is the notation taken from table 7 for persons occupied with library and information science, that is the librarians. So, whole number 390.4092 will be the class number for this subject. We can add any table number like this on instructions. We can also add a number on instructions from schedules to synthesize a class number, to build a class number. So, often we come across some instructions in the schedules which are the most important part of DDC. So, we can add few digits from another sequence of class numbers in the schedules to the base number. So, in this way we synthesize class numbers of so many specific subjects by adding a number of schedule to the base number of the schedule itself. For example, in the heading 581.19 biophysics and biochemistry of plants, it is followed by an instruction add to base number 581.19 the number following 574.19. In 574.191-574.192 means we can add any number following 574.19 from this area. So, we will leave 574.19 and add the rest of the number to the base number. The class number for effect of radiation is 574.1915. Effect of radiation 574.1915. Now just note, we have to add the number following 574.19. If we have to synthesize the class number for a document on the effect of radiations on plants. So, we will have to add the number following 574.19, that is 15, to the base number 581.19. That was the base number. As per instructions, we add 15. Thus, the complete number becomes 581.19 plus 15, that is 591.1915. So, this is very important instruction to synthesize any number where the instruction has been given to add any part of the schedule number to the basic subject number of the any topic, any subject. Sometimes a complete class number is added to another class number on instructions. So, one number is a base number, means that is a basic subject number, and another number is added to it on instruction to synthesize class number of a complex subject. For example, the heading 0 to 6, it is for librarians devoted to various specific disciplines and subjects. Librarians devoted to various specific disciplines and subjects. This heading is followed by an instruction. Add 001-999 means any number from the schedule. The schedule starts from 00, 1 and 99 is the last number. So, the basic subject number is 026. We can add to this number 026, which is the basic subject number, we call it base number. So, we can add a number, any number from the schedule to this base number as per instruction. Then we take example. For example, any subject library or any discipline library, we can mining of engineering library, for example. So, mining engineering is a subject, 622 is the class number for that. 622 is for if we want to classify this subject, mining engineering library, we can add this number 622 with the basic subject number 026. So, 026 plus 622, it becomes 026.622. 622 is the complete number for mining engineering. So, it becomes library mining engineering or mining engineering library. So, we can synthesize any subject number like this on instructions, but we cannot add these parts of numbers from schedule without any instruction. So, we have to follow as per instruction to synthesize any subject number from the schedules. So, the DDC is, let us conclude here that DDC schedules and also the tables are full of various types of notes and instructions, so which have been discussed. These notes and instructions help the classifier to understand the scope of any heading, the meaning of any heading, and how to classify the subjects as desired by the editors of DDC. Actually, they have described, we have to follow the instructions of notes and instructions of DDC as per the desire of the editors of DDC. So, these notes and instructions help us to classify documents correctly. It is very necessary for a classifier to understand these instructions and notes to classify properly. These notes help in uniform interpretation of the headings, and also it keeps a consistency in the application of DDC in all the libraries. So, uniform practices are followed. So, that is the usage of the notes and instructions we have learnt about today, and hope you will be making use of these notes and instructions while doing your classification work, and this will help you in making you perfect in as a classifier to classify the documents in proper way. Thank you very much.